This is the Art of Fashion TV, where art, fashion, and music all meet in one place, right here on the Art of Fashion TV. And now, welcome your host, Glenn Donovan.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Fashion TV. I am Glenn Donovan, and I'm sitting here all the way from the Museum of Interesting Things. Please welcome DennyDanielx. Denny, thanks for joining me today. How's it going?
Good to meet you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming by today. So, the Museum of Interesting Things. I love interesting things, you know, so you got a lot of those apparently, right?
Yep, you're in the right place.
So tell me a little bit about your place. What's going on with the Museum of Interesting Things? What's up with that?
For years I was doing film and many other careers, and I thought, you know, I'm not doing something to really make a change. I figured out the only thing you leave in life when you leave are the people you touch. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I wasn't really doing anything to inspire. So at the time, I was throwing these birthday parties in my apartment because I'm on like Broadway and 8th, and everyone said, can I throw my parties there?
Okay.
And my friends had interesting friends, writers for Mad Magazine.
Oh, I love them. I love Mad Magazine.
Oh,
Been
yeah.
a fan for many, many years.
Then you know one of the guys that was there, Barrio.
Okay.
He was one of the regular Gang of Idiots or
Okay.
something. I think that's what they were called.
Yeah, yeah.
When he passed away, they brought me some of the ones he wrote. It was a stack this high.
Nice.
I'm like, holy moly. I couldn't believe. And he was also Bugs Bunny.
Oh.
He wrote the Bugs Bunny magazine also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Excellent.
he did tell me that before he passed. So he was one of my guinea pigs. Some of the writers for The Onion, which I love, DJs on WBAI. So those are my guinea pigs for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make a transition, you know, maybe make my mom happy, be a lawyer, or this other weird museum idea. So I took it to my elementary school in Queens. I'm a born and raised New Yorker.
Sure.
So I took it there figuring it's safe. And I called newspapers and I said, I'm going to be showing kids history from the actual items. They're going to touch the items, interact with it, and learn history.
Nice, nice.
They said, who are you? We're not showing up. And they ended up giving me front page articles with color pictures.
Cool, cool. And you brought some items here. Tell me about some of the stuff that you can find at the museum.
So the museum has a lot of themes because I do a speakeasy once a week. And 52 weeks, you know, you got to do something different. I'm a New Yorker.
Now
so
you say a speakeasy, but that's not a speakeasy in the alcohol prohibition kind of sense of the word?
Nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay. So it's a little bit different than that?
Totally different.
Okay.
It's actually about 16 millimeter film.
Okay.
So I show 16 millimeter films there, and every week is a different theme. So there's over 1,000 films in the collection.
Okay.
And
they're 16 millimeter, so at these parties, at the speakeasy, you're showing different films there, but they're all 16 millimeter?
And they're all 16, and then I bring antiques on that theme. So if it's a history of animation, cartoons, then I bring all that. Mm-hmm. And if it's a history of comedy, then I bring Laurel and Hardy and, you know, and all that, and I bring items having to do with that. Abbott and Costello.
I remember those growing up as a kid, watching them on you know, so I guess it was Sunday mornings watching that. It was cool.
Now, because it's only a few hours, I bring the clips of it. And I don't know if you heard of Castle Films.
Mm-hmm. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, that was kind of Netflix for back then.
Oh, okay.
So they would make edits of it. So let's say there was a 1 hour movie, an hour and a half movie, they would make a 10-minute edit or a 3-minute headline edit. So I picked up those so that I can show more per night and give people more experiences. And then I bring antiques. Also that have to do with film and video, so maybe a camera obscura, a magic lantern, Thomas Edison wax cylinder record players, and things like that.
Is most of the stuff that you present, is it like mostly like media kind of stuff, like, you know, like different tapes, different kinds of forms of film, or do you have other things as well?
Everything from literature to science and math. I have a whole math show because one of my majors at NYU was actually economics also.
Okay.
So there's a whole math show too. There's a science show, communication show, quack medicine show, which I like to say is to die for.
For math, what just popped in my head, what is that called? Abacus?
Abacus.
Abacus. I was
right.
going to say an abacus. I put the inflection on the wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any of those that you have, like real old ones of those?
I do, and this wonderful helper of mine, Asian girl, from Flushing. She donated her beautiful brown one, the classic one, and I love that one because it's a classic. But I said, you know, I got to get something for the kids, so I got a really cute one. I think it's on the website.
Okay.
That's all multiple colors and cute. It's from like, I think it was popular in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah, and it's
more
amazing how you
flashy.
can just like, you know, once you know how to do it, you can just figure out all these different math problems with that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you should say it like that. So with the museum, I also have my space on Broadway that I opened up for people to see.
Okay.
And one woman said I reminded her of a quote from Albert Einstein.
All right.
Because I was explaining things so comfortably, so simply.
Yeah.
And she said, Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, you don't know it well enough. And I was like, challenge accepted.
Right, right. Now, you said that's geared towards a lot of the kids. So do you do like a travel thing that you do, where you go to schools and stuff and kind of do that kind of thing?
So
Explain
that's
a
the
little
main
bit of that.
point. You got it on the head.
Okay.
So that was the main point from the beginning. Now there's 3 flavors. So my main thing is to get it to schools, because you really want to teach the next generation what I call the missing link factor. All the links in the chain until you get to your cell phone, these cameras, the slide, whatever it is.
Everything's digital now, so you have these different mediums that are kind of, you know, it's a lost art. You know, everything is on your phone and digitized, and you don't have, you know, went from, you know, film to, you know, like more like a DVD or a CD or something like that, and now everything is just little, you know, computer chips.
Yeah, or a dial telephone they've never touched.
Right,
you know,
right. Yeah.
I bring carrier pigeon stuff. Like
Yeah.
I bring everything. They have to know from the beginning
Right.
all the way till
Smoke signals.
you know. Yeah, I anything that anything that happened back then is important for them to learn now. And now I've kind of evolved into 3 flavors for the museum.
Okay.
So
And
the
they are?
first flavor is of course going to the schools, libraries, you know, hospitals, events, things like that. That
Okay.
was always the first flavor. And it's
And if somebody's interested in booking you for something like that, they could reach you at the website.
the website, my
Uh-huh.
email. People actually, I'm cool with calling. People are amazed. They'll call me up and go, wow, there's a human.
Yeah, like an actual
I'm
phone
like,
call.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
I
You're
run
not
a
getting
museum.
message. And that's museumofinterestingthings.org. Is that where we're
.org
at?
and
Okay.
.com.
Okay,
Yeah, I got
all
both
right.
just in case.
All right, and they can book you that way. Excellent.
Right, so that
All
way
right.
that, you know, they can definitely have it come to the school. And then pick a theme, although the theme I did my first show, I call Eureka, the History of Invention. And that tends to be like the starter point.
Right.
You know,
when I
that's like
hear
the best.
Eureka, I think of a vacuum cleaner.
Which I have. That
You got those too,
yeah,
right?
I do have that,
Some-
of course.
some items
The
like that.
Electrolux was the one my mom grew up with, so I, you know, had.
Yeah.
So I grew up with that.
Okay.
So that's first flavor. Second flavor is I opened up my space on Broadway where I lived, and now people will call me up and just have like a date there, or bring their kids there, or bring like a small group there, and they
Okay.
get kind of a by appointment. I do it by appointment because I'm not always there.
Sure, sure.
But they get like a little pseudo-private tour where I put the items in their hands.
Okay.
And I think that's a really great permutation because that way you really interact with stuff.
Excellent.
And you see how a curator lives,
Right.
which is a scary thing.
Yeah, right. So is your apartment just like packed with stuff everywhere?
Packed. There's
Yeah,
thousands of items in the museum.
Yeah.
I could fill the building
Yeah.
easily.
Okay.
And then
and
the
what was the third flavor there?
So the third flavor is the secret speakeasy we do,
Mm-hmm.
where I show the 16mm films and have the antiques there.
Okay.
And that I do every Sunday right now.
Okay. All right. And is there admission to get into that?
Yep, and it's also virtual.
Uh-huh.
So people in California, in Ohio, and Massachusetts come every week.
Excellent.
And they pick up a ticket on whatever Eventbrite through the website, or they come live and just do it there.
Awesome.
And they get to see 16mm films on their sofa there,
Uh-huh.
and the antiques.
When did 16mm films, like around what time period did they stop like using them?
So ironically, we have VHS tapes here, and that pretty much killed the video store.
Yeah.
So, which I have that tape. So once you get VHS, it became so easy and fun that kind of around the 80s, it really starts to switch, and the stores, well, 16 before that, because once you get 8mm, it becomes more consumer. 8mm and 16 really die around the 80s.
In the 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
70s, 80s.
Okay, cool. Do you have a particular interesting item that is like your favorite or you think is the most interesting in your collection?
So that's always like everyone's favorite interesting, thought. Like, what does he like?
What- yeah,
out of
what's the-
thousands of items.
Yeah.
And it was so hard because it's like, how do you pick from your kids? But I figured out that it goes in genres. So for music, of course, the big, beautiful Edison cylinder player, which
Yeah.
I promised all the guys here that, hopefully we'll come back and bring some of the really old stuff.
Right.
like
Is this
the
a
Edison.
Victrola that's on here?
So Victrola is the competition.
Oh,
so
okay.
Edison now is rolling in his grave going, I'm not a Victrola. So that would be a cylinder record player.
Okay.
And they did call them records.
Right.
Because think of do you have a file cabinet? What's in the file cabinet?
Files.
Records.
Yeah.
So
records.
those records were what he thought the record player would be, a dictation machine for businesses.
Oh, okay.
But music took off right away and it became more of a music player. And he made other machines, dictaphones and ediphones.
Sure, sure.
But this machine is kind of my favorite for music stuff.
Yeah. And what is this called again? What do you call it?
So
again?
you would call it a record player, a
Just a record
phonograph
player.
player. Yeah,
Okay.
it was actually called that. And then for photography and film, I have something called a mutoscope, which you'd know as a Nickelodeon.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes.
And that's I love that thing.
Is that's like a jukebox, right? Kind of? Or is that something else I'm thinking of?
It's not playing music, it's playing film, but I see how you're relating it to a jukebox
Yeah.
because you put in a quarter
Right.
and then you get a film.
Oh,
you put
okay.
in a quarter, you get a music. So it's kind of the same principle.
Right, right. And I remember seeing some old footage of, like people kind of doing like putting the nickel in and you kind of have that
Right.
thing that you kind of look through
Nickelodeon, yeah.
and you spin it around yourself and it'll show like, I remember the one that kind of came out into my head was the moonlit, the one that was like the moon.
Trip to the Moon.
Trip to the moon,
Oh,
right?
I've got that. That's like the Holy Grail.
Yeah, that's a good one, right?
That's a really hard one to get. I got that one in Metropolis.
Oh, Metropolis is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I think it's just so interesting for the time and just everything that was accomplished during that filmmaking. And the story, and it's just an amazing movie. It's one of my favorites. Excellent.
It's the one that I show in my place on Broadway. Actually, I have Metropolis in that one, and I have Trip to the Moon in Washington Square Park. We're doing a whole bunch of things this year in Washington Square Park.
Excellent, excellent. We can get all that information on your website.
On the website.
And that is the Museum of Interesting Things, right?
Yeah.
So I want to thank Denny from the Museum of Interesting Things. Check him out, museumofinterestingthings.org and .com.
Yep.
All right, thanks a lot for coming. I really
You are
appreciate
so
you coming
welcome.
there.
It was a
All right,
pleasure.
and we'll see you around, and we'll be right back with The Art of Fashion TV. Hello, and welcome back to The Art of Fashion TV. I'm Glenn Donovan, your host. Hey, what's going on with this cone in front of me? I mean, what's going on over here?
We're bringing in the Boogie Down Beat Down to the Art of Fashion TV, brother.
The Boogie Down Beat Down? What the heck is that?
That's the podcast from the Bronx, New York, talking about all the great wrestling leagues in the Bronx, like Invictus and We Are Wrestling. Shout out to Invictus doing a show August 2nd in the Bronx Brewery, and the following show of We Are Wrestling.
Well, I guess you're my next guest. This must be Tony Marcano.
It is Tony Marcano.
All right, and I got Mr. Jhonny Santos with me too. Johnny.
Otra vez, yo soy el Jhonny Santos. El Jhonny Santos.
El Jhonny Santos.
El Jhonny Santos.
El Jhonny Santos.
Close enough.
Okay, how you guys doing today? Thanks for coming on the show here.
It's always great to have you, to have us.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So we are wrestlers. You're a wrestler, El Jhonny Santos.
Yo soy el Jhonny Santos, un luchador. That's why I'm a wrestler, sir.
Yes.
And let it be known that when I am here, this is my show. You're the host, but we run things here, right, buddy?
We're the bosses
You're gonna run my show you're talking about?
Unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see how that works out for you. So tell me, you guys have a wrestling league? The cash prize is wrestling? What's going on with that?
We're going to present a great wrestling league starring Jhonny Santos, a great champion, and he's going to beat all the other indie wrestling performers, and he's going to keep that title.
Nice, nice. Okay, so are you the belt holder of the cash prizes wrestling league?
Once the league is up and running, yes, I will be the champion. I have a lot of experience. I've been a champion in Puerto Rico, Massachusetts. I wrestled in California, Florida. I mean, Who else? King Man. Who better to be the champion?
I mean, do you kick ass though?
What kind of question is that?
Tony,
do you like kick ass?
Of course he kicks ass. He's
hear
El
that?
Hombre, El Dueño, El Jhonny
Santos.
Santos.
El Jhonny Santos. All right.
We're
there
getting
we go.
somewhere. We're getting somewhere.
Excellent, excellent. Well, much respect to you, Mr. El Jhonny Santos.
Thank you.
Excellent. So I remember back in the day, I used to watch the wrestling, and as a youngster, I remember Andre the Giant. I remember the Bushwhackers were a good group of guys. I thought they were very entertaining. And I also actually worked with George the Animal Steel in a movie that I was in called Fight the Panda Syndicate. And that was before his untimely passing. All these guys seem really good. How do you guys compare in today's leagues compared to those guys?
Tony, may I?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Bueno, the first things first. You were with a lot of stars. Andre the Giant, the George the Animal Steel, but you're in front of one of the bigger stars, at least out right now, me, El Jhonny Santos. But it's pretty much the same thing. We kick ass. It's a lot of the shows that we have in the Bronx, like Tony so eloquently said. We are wrestling in St. Helena's Church, Invictus, another company down at the Bronx Brewery. We have shows full of characters, stars. Me and my crew, for example, we're called ODIFC, La Primera Clase, First Class. We're a group of Dominican Americans. We got swag, we got strength. We're here for the gold, the money, the power, all that fun stuff. We got a gamer. His name is Big Game Leroy. He wrestles with a switch inside of the ring.
Okay.
We have heavy hitters. It's pretty much what we used to watch when we were younger, right? So the same, you grew up with Andre the Giant, the Bushwhackers. I grew up with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Sure.
And Sting and NWO. We provide family-friendly fun.
Yeah.
It's just a giant spectacle. We don't fill Madison Square Garden the way they used to with Bruno Sammartino and them.
Right.
But we do local shows up and down the Bronx. That's what we're representing with the Bronx, the Boogie Down, Beatdown, excuse me.
Right.
And we're just trying to bring light to that.
Cool. Let me ask you. It almost sounds. It's reminded me of like. Do you have any rivalry like the Bronx versus Brooklyn? I know like with the rap guys, they have the East versus the West, and there's a little bit of rivalry there. So do you have any kind of rivalry with the other kind of boroughs in the area or across the country? Do you have anything going on with that?
Muy buena pregunta. That is a great question. Tony was there. We had a war really.
Yeah.
Of the Puerto Ricans against me and Tony, the Dominicans.
Okay.
It was actually a fight over rice. Yeah. So Puerto Ricans call the sticky rice at the bottom of the pot.
Yeah.
They call it pegao.
Right.
Meanwhile, we call it con. So Dominicans versus Puerto Ricans, it was like chancleta versus belt. It was medalla beer against Presidente beer, and that was a big fight. It was what was it? A 4-on-4. There was sandals being thrown.
Yeah.
There were plátanos. At the end of the day, that was one of my most recent wars.
Yeah.
One of our most recent rivalries.
Right.
It ended up being a stalemate.
Okay.
We had an outsider come in, but we ended up toasting, and it was fun at the end.
Yeah. I mean, there is like a real world rivalry about where did the rice and beans originate from. That's kind of like where this kind of thing came from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When it comes to Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, we fight over food, culture, music, other sports like baseball, basketball most recently, since the Latino market is being penetrated more by in the NBA.
Yeah.
So it was almost like we were representing that, and especially being in the Bronx, we have a pretty large population of Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
And a pretty large population of Dominicans.
Of course.
So we were just representing, and that was one of our biggest rivalries. But it was fun at the end of the day. It was.
Yeah, that sounds like a great show.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like everybody's engaged in it and just having a good time out there. You know, something you really definitely want to check out and see what's going on with that. You know what I like also? I like I guess it's the Mexican wrestlers, the guys with the
Lucha Libre.
Lucha Libre, right, with the masks on.
Yes.
All right, you got any of those characters coming out there with that?
Like I said, we have everything. We have giants, we have luchadors, We have female wrestling.
Okay.
They're kicking ass.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of everything here, but we're also trying to bring in something a little bit different with the cash prize wrestling, right?
League. Yes, the cash prize wrestling league.
Tell me a little bit about cash prize wrestling.
So cash prize wrestling is going to be a great wrestling league, very innovative. We're gonna bring the three brands together: the Boogie Down Beat Down podcast, the We Are Wrestling League, and the Invictus Wrestling League. And we're gonna bring these great brands together, and we're gonna present a great brand where indie wrestlers throughout the Northeast can come and stage great tournaments, and we'll see who wins the $25,000 belt.
Nice. That's a pretty impressive cash prize we got going on here. Excellent. So where can people see these performances going on, these matches? Where we're going to see them at?
At the Bronx Brewery, at the St. Helena's Church.
Okay.
And also at the Night of Columbus in Richfield Park.
Okay. And do you have any shows that are coming up in the near future?
We have shows coming up at the Bronx Brewery, the Invictus Show, our good associate brand, at August 2nd.
Okay, August 2nd. Hopefully our show will be out and everybody will see that. Is that something that happens on like a monthly basis or something like that, or do you just do it every once in a while? Is it like a consistent thing or anything?
So for We Are Wrestling, which is I believe their next show is in November, they do things almost seasonally.
Okay.
With Invictus, it's almost every two months. The best way to keep track of this stuff is, of course, social media.
Sure.
We do have a promotion in New Jersey, which right across the bridge, Richfield Park. They do things monthly.
Okay.
It really varies. But you know what? We're inspired mostly. Are you familiar with ECW?
A little bit, yeah.
So ECW around when the WWF. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Dwayne
Sure.
The Rock Johnson.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, we had WCW with Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and them. There was another smaller promotion, ECW, that was coming out of Philadelphia, but they were also running shows in New York.
Right.
More up north near Yonkers, but that's still Bronx territory.
Yeah, of
Mount
course.
Vernon,
They're right next to each other.
Yonkers, and Paul Heyman was one of the guys behind ECW. So he was supported by a few group of guys that is also behind, that they're going to be behind
Cash
Promotion.
Prize Wrestling.
Yes, Cash Prize Wrestling.
Nice.
So we're kind of piggybacking off of their success, and we're trying to do. And ECW at the time was very innovative. They were more violence-themed, chairs and fire and barbed wire and all that fun stuff.
Like weapons and stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So we're trying to bring something a little bit different, push the envelope a little bit, and ideally do monthly shows or bi-monthly, so you guys can keep track of things.
Sure. And what you said social media is a good way to follow you. So what would be your social media?
So my social media, my Instagram is my primary mode of promotion right now is Jhonny Santos, ELJHONNY Santos, no spaces.
Right.
Boogie Down Beat Down. Which is Boogie Down Beat Down? Is it
the Boogie Down Beat Down podcast? Follow us on Instagram.
Okay.
Boogie Down Beat Down podcast.
All right. Tell me a little bit more about the podcast. So what are some of the things that you guys are discussing on that?
We're discussing all the current wrestling events in the Bronx, like Invictus. We're talking basically the storylines and introducing the storylines to the audience of the Art of Fashion.
Excellent. And as far as the cash prizes wrestling, I mean, do these guys get in an actual belt at the end of the day? You got the belts all set up and ready to
It's going to be a
that?
beautiful, wonderful belt.
Okay, that's awesome. So what else would you like to add? What else do we have going on here?
I would like to add that I'm a big Paul Heyman fan. If you see me on the podcast, on the Bronx Net, if you see me with a suit and a DR cap, that's a tribute to Paul Heyman.
Excellent. All right. Jhonny
Santos. Yes,
Jhonny Santos. What do we got? What else we got going on with you today?
So like I said, we got actually right after this show, I'm heading out to New Jersey for a show. I'm extremely busy on weekends, so thank you again for bringing us out here at the Art of Fashion. Are you a fan of wrestling at all nowadays?
I do enjoy some of it.
You dabble some? Like I said, so what in the Bronx, we got luchadors. We got huge tag team matches, Hell in a Cell matches. We're trying to bring the love of what we do back to New York City. Back in the day, we were primarily revolved around WWF at the time, the WWE. But we want to bring the fun back. I want you to be a fan. I want you to name the names. I've just taught you about Jhonny Santos and my crew, First Class. But we want to bring the energy back to the Bronx with Invictus. We Are Wrestling, soon Cash Prize Wrestling. We want to bring the unknowns. We want to bring the new fans, the new eyes.
Yeah.
Because what we do is fun at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
We fight. We claw. Sometimes there's a little bit of blood. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure, that happens when you're doing that kind of, that kind of activity.
Give you value for your ticket.
Yes. And about how much is a ticket for one of the shows?
Typically nowadays, it's gonna be the range between 20 and 30.
Okay.
It does vary.
Sure.
It depends on location typically.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so again, I want to thank both of you for stopping by and visiting me today on the Art of Fashion TV. We got Tony Marcano and Jhonny Santos over from the Boogie Down Beat Down podcast and also Cash Prizes Wrestling. I wish you guys all the best of luck in the wrestling world. I'm sure you guys are going to kick ass. You got your cone over here. Let's make sure that the danger zone is all over the place, but not too dangerous for everybody. And we are going to be right back on the Art of Fashion TV. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.
This is a sound film, so it's got sound. And then we'll pack up while the film is
Is it crazy? Yeah, it's funny. It's a rocket. Oh, there's a lot of ladies. Oh. Thank you.
Thank you very much for our debut in Washington Square Park. The first time Washington Square Park has ever done 16mm film in over 200 years. So, enjoy.